Hey everybody, it's Premiere Gal here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make your own stylized GIFs inside of Premiere Pro. So these are not the typical GIFs that you see when you search the Giphy archive for particular, actions. Like if you're looking for people clapping, those are GIFs that are made from actual video clips. These are going to be customized kind of animated GIFs that I'm going to show you how to make. This is a cute and fun way that you can sort of attract people to your post. So here is the GIF that I made. And so you'll notice at the end where I just paused, it's the same shot as the opening, right? Because with a GIF, at least the way that I like to make GIFs, I like it to make it seem like it's a looping pattern. So if somebody's watching it, it'll just be on this continuous loop that seems very continuous. Now in Premiere Pro, I cannot export this in the GIF format, but I will show you what program you can use to create the GIF once it's exported. So these are images that I got from Unsplash. I love Unsplash. I basically use them every day for every single marketing product that I use. So thank you, Unsplash, for that. And now, as you see here, that was a lot going on, but I only have 3 clips here. Well, these are actually sequences that are nested within this sequence. As you see over here in my project panel, I've divided it up into shots, right? So shot 1, if I open up this sequence, it's the desk shot with text on top. So I made this text on top of the image itself, right? And you'll see that I have 2 transition animations, which incorporate both shot 1 and shot 2 for the first transition, and then transition 2, which has shot 3 and shot 4. So let me go in and basically build this from scratch so you guys can get an idea of how to make your own simple keyframe transitions in Premiere Pro. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Let me close these up here. And let me just create a new bin called Shots 2. And if you hit on new item here, I'm going to create a new sequence. And that's fine. 1080p, and I'm going to call this shot 1. And now I'm going to drag in my photos under assets here and find that first shot. Here's the shot. Drag it into the timeline here. Let's make this bigger. There we go. Okay. So this shot, we want to scale it to frames. So there's a shortcut here. If you actually hit Control click, you can scale to frame size. And then you can increase the scale here under Effects Control so it fills up the entire screen. Okay, so that is shot 1. But we need to add the text to it, right? So let's go ahead and make a new title, and we'll call it Premiere Gal. Okay, and then we're just gonna type out Premiere Gal, and I use Futura T font. Type that, and actually I didn't want to make that all caps. I want it to be lowercase. So there we go. Now we want to make this bigger. Let's make it like 250. And let's make the kerning about -3. And with these handy centering tools on the left, you can center it horizontally and vertically. Let's drag this title on top of the image. So you'll notice that it's actually quite hard to read the Premiere Gal. So what I did was I just lowered the brightness of the desk shot. So if you go to your effects, you can search for brightness and contrast, drag it on the desk shot here, click on the desk shot, then go over here to Effects Controls and scroll down, and here's where you can adjust the brightness. So let's just make this -10, a little bit more, minus 30. Well, minus 50. There we go. Let's try a little bit less. That's looking about right. And so, yeah, I mean, you could play around with it. You can actually scroll through. But yeah, actually, I think a little bit even darker towards negative 100 is the best here. Okay. So then we want the transition to occur at 2 seconds. So at 2 seconds, I'll leave a marker by pressing M. So it'll mark where it's going to happen, okay? So we left a marker there. And now let's go on to make shot 2. So I'm just going to, so what I'm going to do is control click on this shot and hit duplicate. And I call this shot 2. Let's open up shot 2. And I'm going to delete this desk shot, and I'm going to go back and find the second photo of the GIF, just this one, drag it into the timeline here, and let's adjust the scale, and then we have to, Premiere Pup is barking. Spike! Spike! Shh! I'm recording right now, Spike. Thank you very much. So let's go back to effects and let's put brightness and contrast on the desk shot 2. And then let's lower the brightness. That looks good. And another trick that you can do is you don't want to copy the text, because if you copy it and edit it within the timeline, it's gonna basically update the previous text, so you actually need to physically duplicate it. And to do that, if you click, hold Option, drag, let go of Option, it creates an actual duplicate copy of the title. So if you delete the previous one and edit this one, it won't change the original title. So let's open that up and let's change this to hashtag video editing. Fantastic. And let's center that again. Looks pretty good. So because this is going to be the transitioning shot, we're going to add a marker here in the beginning. This is where we're going to line up the two shots together at. Okay, so let's go back to shot 1. See, this is where I have the current marker, right? Let's put one there. So that's shot 1 and shot 2. Now I'm going to control click, duplicate, and let's do shot 3. Open that up, swap this out. Now we wanted to get another photo here of the equipment. Drag it under here, and let's adjust the scale. Click on equipment, go up to effects controls, scale that down just a tad. That looks good. And now again, go to brightness under effects, drag it onto equipment. Let's lower that brightness just a tad. Option, click, drag, let go, duplicates the text. Open that up, edit it to say tutorials. Oops, not all caps. Tutorials. There we go. And again, center horizontally, center vertically. Perfect. And there we go. That's shot 3. And now we want the transition to occur at, let's say, 2 seconds. If you don't want it to occur on the actual clip, you want it to make sure that you're just clicked on the actual sequence itself and hit M. Why aren't you deleting? Delete. Clear selected marker. Should just be delete. But anyway, that's shot 3. Now let's go ahead and make shot number 4. Duplicate. Shot 4. So this is the final shot. And let's delete the equipment. Let's take the girls on the railroad, which is the final shot here. Let's increase the scale just a tad. We see all 3 of them taking the photo here. And then for this one, we're just gonna delete the title, and I'm gonna go over and get the Premiere Gal logo and drag it on top. Now it's quite large, so let's decrease the scale to like 10. That looks about right. And adjust it a little bit. There we go. Looking good. Our final shot here, we want to add a marker at the beginning, so let's hit M and then control click on this marker and clear this selected marker because we don't need that there. So we have all 4 shots. Now we need to make 2 separate sequences for the 2 transitions, the 2 main ones, right? So let's go under, let's create a new folder called Animated Transitions, just like I have above here in the completed one, but because I'm copying it, I'm basically recreating it from scratch. Let's create a new sequence, and let's call this Transition 1. So I'm going to take not the clip, shot 1, but the sequence here, and drag it into this sequence, right? Expand this sequence here by just clicking and dragging that dot. You can see that I now have this sequence nested in Transition 1. Okay? And let's do the same thing with shot 2. There we go. And now you see the markers here. This is what I use to line the 2 markers up, because this is where I want the transition to occur. Okay? So in order to make that transition, I need to make 2 of each shot because I created a mask and divided up the shot. So let's duplicate this option, click, drag, option, click, drag. So now we have 2 copies. Now what we have to do is create a mask. So in shot 1, I'm gonna go to, computer is acting a little slow, guys, sorry about that. Shot 1, and then what you're going to do is create a 4-point polygon mask, and we're gonna bring it up in the upper left hand corner here, drag it out to about the center. If you hit shift and drag, it'll keep the line straight, which is pretty cool. That's probably what I should have done before, but you know, you live and you learn. So that's mask 1. And so now what we're going to do is literally make a new, well, what we can do is, because I'm not going to recreate the same mask, I'll create the same mask on shot 2. So if you just go over here to the mask and you hit Command C for copy if you're on a Mac, you go up to shot 2 here and hit opacity and Command V, and literally the same mask is there. So I'm going to do that for the second shot 1 here. I'm going to copy that mask here also, but I'm going to shift it over. It's strange because I haven't done like a full live tutorial with you guys yet. I usually edit it or leave out some of the details here, but it's quite tedious process. This is, but it's definitely, there's mask number 2, and I'm just doing this pretty rough for you guys right now. I would refine it, but just for the sake of time. So then I'm going to copy this mask and I'm going to paste it on shot 2, number 2. So you'll see that it is over here as well. So now we have the mask, and now we have to animate. We want this image to go down. Okay, this half of the image, this mask half. So we want to hit this toggle animation that creates a keyframe. And it's actually helpful if you turn off the 2 layers so you can see what we're animating right now in shot 1. And then we're just going to scroll down a bit. And then what we're going to do is, it's kind of hard to see right here, but this number controls the vertical position. So if you pull it down, you'll see that I'm bringing this half of the image down. Okay, and we want to add a temporal keyframe so the velocity will change over time. If you click on the keyframe, you can actually adjust the velocity here and make it so it kind of speeds up fast towards the end. So let's make it at about, you can adjust it manually too, 5,300. And so now you'll see that that half animates out, okay? And if you think that it's too slow, you can literally just take this temporal keyframe, because it looks like an hourglass, temporal means time, and change the time of it to be quicker. So now it's a bit faster there, see? And so we want to do the same thing for the second shot, right? So let's line up this at the right point that we want the second shot to start animating. Okay, now let's hit shot number 2, and you're gonna hit toggle animation to create a keyframe. And then rather than going down, we want this one to go up. So the way that you know, like, okay, where do I create the new keyframe? When this one goes out of frame, we can make the second mask here go out of frame. So then let's animate that up by literally just pulling that number up until it's out of frame. And if you hit this caret by position, we can make the velocity change over time too. And you'll see that the keyframes turn into an hourglass. And I can put in 5,300, there we go. And now you'll see that they both transition out, just like that. So now, as these go out, we want shot number 2 to come in, right? So this is where it gets a little tricky, but it's actually not that complicated. Basically, what we want is we want this shot, well, you have to turn them back on again. When this animation starts here where the markers are, we want these shots to be out of frame, right? So before we start keyframing, let's change the first half of the mask transition to be out of frame, right? So let's move it out completely, all right? And same with this one. We want shot number 2 to be down. So now that we have them out of frame, we want to hit toggle animation for both of them because we want them to start at this point. And then we want, as soon as this one goes out of frame, we want this shot to come down, right? It's basically like replacing each other. So that goes down, looks good. Make sure that it's not too far out. It's kind of hard to see. I should actually probably make this bigger. Probably help my life right now. Okay. Like that. Okay, great. And then shot number 2, we want this to actually make sure that's out of frame first, and we want this to come in like that. And so the little rendering needs to happen here, but this is basically the first transition. All right, so it was a little rough here. Let's see what's going on here. So I see here that the reason why it was a little off is because I forgot to change the velocity here to be the same. So if I hit the caret here and you hit this keyframe, you can change the velocity to be 5,300. And now it should be more smooth. There we go. That looks better. So now let's move on to transition number 2. So let's create a new sequence. Okay, let's call it transition 2. Open that up. And now we are going to take shot 3, but we're not going to take these clips, remember? We're going to actually take the sequence 3 and plop it down into transition 2. So let's do that. Let's make this bigger. Okay. And then, so remember from the final version, this was actually divided up into 3 separate masks. So I need to duplicate this. So there's 3 shot 3s. We're gonna have to do, we're dividing this up into thirds, okay? And same thing with shot 4. So let's bring in shot 4, line it up with a marker here, duplicate this 3 times. There we go. Now, just like before, I have to make mask, right? So let me hit on shot 3 here, and let's click on create 4-point polygon mask. There we go. And I'm just gonna eyeball it here rather than do a proper measurement. Oops. And I think that looks about right. I'm gonna hit shift, drag. Okay, so that's 1/3. Let's actually move that so it's not quite as far out. So then, just like I did with shot 1 and shot 2, I'm gonna copy these masks because it saves a lot of time. So hit shot 4, opacity, Command V, and now you see here that there's the same mask on this shot. And with shot 3, the second one, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna paste the mask, but I'm gonna move it. So you see I have this mask, and now I have the second mask, and it's gonna be about there. And now I need to paste this mask on shot number 2 of shot 4. So now you can see the same mask was pasted on shot 4. And now shot 3, we need to add the final mask here. So let's go ahead and paste this. You can see now that the masks are not perfect here by these black lines, right? So with this mask, we're actually gonna pull it up. Now you can see we need to actually make the middle one, the middle mask, a little bigger. There we go. It's not perfect, but you get the idea. So let's copy this third mask on the third shot 4. You can see, again, up here it's fine, but we see some of the image below here between these first 2 masks, so we need to adjust that. So for shot number 4, let's adjust this mask slightly. Now we have our mask, and now we're ready to animate. So what you do is right here where I've indicated where I want the animation to start, where the markers are. What I'm going to do is just pull these images out of frame, right? Because they're not going to be there. We want them to animate in from left to right. Let's change the position horizontally so these are off screen right now. Here we go. And we'll set a keyframe there. Layer 2 of shot 4. Same thing, we're gonna pull it off screen like that. Set a keyframe. And the third layer, pull it off screen like that. Hit a keyframe. And so now we want shot 3, all 3 layers to start animating off screen. Let's set a keyframe here on the position, and then I'm gonna pull this off screen, like so. So it animates off. Then I'm gonna go in and do some more detailed velocity work here. Click on the keyframe, adjust these toggles to bring up the velocity. Let's make it 5,300. I just like to keep it consistent. You can choose whatever velocity you want, but this just helps the transitions seem more smooth and like they're going together. So because I want them to be sort of toggled, as soon as this one reaches about there, that's when I'm gonna set a keyframe for the second shot 3, okay? Then drag this out, see? Until it's out of frame. And then again, let's change the velocity, clicking this. You guys are gonna be like experts on doing keyframing now because I'm going through this so detailed. Sorry it's so long, but I really want to show you the whole process here. I should have done this live with you guys. Would you guys be up for like a live like creation with me? Do you think that would be something that you would want? Just let me know. Leave a comment below. And here we go, there's that. That's okay, so maybe we can pull this keyframe out just a tad. And now the last one here. And so about here is when we will do the third. So let's click on this layer, create a position keyframe. So then we're going to pull this out of frame, and then we'll make any adjustments that are necessary. Let's change the velocity here. Now let's see how that looks. We'll probably have to make some adjustments here. Perfect. Okay, so see how I staggered it? So now as these animate out, I want shot 4 to animate in, okay? Right here, we already have a keyframe set for when the first layer, the first mask animates out. That's when we want this layer to follow along. So let's go ahead and shift the position over again. There we go. Keep on shifting. Perfect. So let's add a frame. Okay. And let's see how that looks. So the reason why it looks strange is because we have to add the velocity again, remember? Now let's move on to, well, let's see how that looks here. Okay. And now on to shot 4. So again, the position keyframe's already there. We set that. So as this one, the middle mask leaves the frame, that's when we're going to pull out this third mask here. There we go. Make sure the image is lined up too. And let's adjust the velocity to 5,300. There we go. For the final one where it goes off here, now this is the third layer here of shot 4. This is where we're going to animate the last and final mask to come in, and let's line up that logo there, make sure it's lined up just right. There we go. And let's adjust the velocity. And actually you can see that the mask here, you can see a line. So what I'm going to do is just adjust that mask just a tad so we don't see that line. Okay? And now let's see how it looks. Looking good. So now what I'm going to do is create a new sequence, a final sequence. I'm going to call it final sequence. I'm going to open it up, and then I'm going to drag in transition 1 and transition 2 sequences into the sequence. And then I'm going to stagger. I'm going to bring transition 1 on the second layer. And I think that it's a little too long, so I'm just going to trim off a tad bit of transition 1. Okay, and then I'm going to bring transition 2 underneath, and then I'm going to animate transition 1 out of the frame up using a keyframe. So I'm going to drag up the position off screen. And now I'm going to change the velocity of that transition. So now if I play it back, you can see that that top layer, transition 1, moves out. And now I'm going to duplicate the first transition 1, and I'm going to bring it underneath transition 2 so we can make sure that the end of this GIF begins like it does in the beginning with the Premiere gal. So now what I need to do is animate out transition 2 just like I did with transition 1, but this time I'm going to animate it down. And change the velocity. So now you can see that Premiere gal is revealed at the end. And now let's set an out point by pressing O, and when we hit play, we will see. Actually, I think I need to trim off the front end of this. It's a little long. And now you can see that it transitions quite nicely, and you can see at the end it ends in the beginning. So now I'm going to render it. And now we can export this as a .mp4 file. I'm going to export it with the YouTube preset. And I'm going to save it into an exports folder. Call it GIF1 and hit export. And it'll just take a couple seconds here to finish up. And so once it's done exporting, close down PremierePro, and you're going to open up an application that's free called GIF Rocket. You're going to find the .mp4 file that we just exported in your folder, exports. And then in GIF Rocket, you're going to click on the gear icon in the upper right-hand corner, which will allow you to change the final size of the GIF. So I'm going to change it to 400 pixels, just so that way the file is not too big. And then you're going to drag the .mp4 into that purple circle, and it will make your GIF. So if I hit the space bar, I will be able to open up the GIF here, and you can see, here's our final GIF. And you can attach this to any social media, such as Twitter. You can just drag the .gif file into Twitter, and there you go. You have this nice visual to accompany your social media post. So I know this was long, but I hope you guys found it useful. Please give this video a thumbs up and let me know if next time you want me to do this live. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.